Yep.
that video that you put out, I felt it, bro. I seen in your faces and all. I seen exactly the feelings you were going through, and that's that big demo job that you guys took on. And when I seen how big it was, I was like, God damn, you dudes are crazy, bro. You got some balls on you, kid. Like to even take on something like that is just nuts. But I really want you to tell everybody about the experience and catch them up, man, because I seen it in your face, bro. Like that was real, bro. That was raw feelings right there coming out.
Yeah, first off, I got to give a huge shout out to the guy that referred us this job. His name is Daniel Bays. He's located here in our area in Texas. He's been operating for 4 years, and he's been privately supporting us from the background. He's seen all the hate we were getting on Facebook, reached out, we chopped it up, and he's like, "Hey, man, I can't get to this job. Will you go quote it?" Absolutely. I walk in. Yeah, I should have bricked, guys. When I was walking through, I kept my face, my composure, and I handled it like a G, just like, yeah, hey, Lance, this is a really big job. It's going to be between this price and this price. I'll get you over an estimate by end of day today. We're going to require 50% deposit. So we have the money to get the materials, the dumpsters out there, get the operator, all that kind of stuff. And, dude, it was scary. It was really scary. And side note, we put a hole through the building because the interior wall was like basically up against what we were demoing, and there just was no way. So we put a hole through the wall there. We bent one of the garage frame doors. This was not an easy or smooth job by any means. I actually called the guy when we did the change order because we had to add an extra $4,000 to the job, and I had to say, Lance, I'm really showing my ass right now. This is my inexperience, but we have to do a change order because there's going to be an extra dumpster and there's 40 hours of labor that I didn't account for. Could you meet me halfway for what it should cost? And yeah, guys, I'm never scared of a challenge, but in my very first
hold
month,
on, what was his reaction when you said that?
He had a sigh and he was a bit frustrated, but he understood. We had the conversation. He actually used to do junk removal 20 years ago. And now he runs an oil and gas company. So he's big bucks, big baller. And I think I was just honest with him. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be honest with our customers. And if he told me, hey, no, man, you got to stick to the price, I would have just had to bite that bullet, but it also doesn't hurt to ask. And if it was, a small junk removal job, hey, listen, eat the cost. You know what I mean? I'm not saying if you underquoted a job by $100, charge someone extra $100. This one was a different circumstance, but he handled it like a champ. He could have been a real asshole about it, but he was cool.
And now, what did you take from that whole thing? Like, what will you do different? Like, what would you change now, knowing what you know?
I want to try to get it in with people that already have dumpsters, but I also am now seeing the lucrative side of having a dumpster section to our junk removal company. I don't know if you guys have seen 1-800-JUNK started rolling out dumpsters, and I'm starting to see their stuff left and right. It's more of a need than actual junk removal services. But in the future, I'm going to call around for pricing on the actual dumpsters because I could have saved an extra $1,000 there. And then now I have connections with operators who can run skid steers and grapple hooks and all that kind of stuff for me and make it a little bit easier. But there's nothing really, it's more so just pricing a little bit higher and then giving them a longer time frame, right? Because I think on big jobs, it's always going to cost more than you think it's going to, and it's always going to take longer than you think it's going to. And if you communicate those things to your customer beforehand, you won't look like an asshole like I did. So
I think JT, brother, I think you're absolutely right about that. And I was talking to Matt Vick from Sonoma Strong about this, about while we were on a fishing trip, and he gave me some nice knowledge on those big jobs. You shouldn't give them a specific date.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It should be I can get it from start here and get it done in between here, and that way you give yourself some room in case you have to go do something else. You won't just be stuck there and having all that weight on your shoulders and head and mind fucking boggling. And we all seen it, what you were going through. And I want to hit on that also. thank you so much for expressing that and just being truthful. Because there's
Yeah.
so many people out there who would not be truthful. They would just show you the before, the after, but they won't be truthful. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of Pinocchios out there.
Dude, it
You know
sucked.
what I
I gotta
mean?
tell you
And
guys, we needed a couple days after that job,
yeah,
recovery time,
yeah,
just because of how much anxiety and how much work that went into it. Seven Figures said, ask those with experience on big jobs. That's also something I think I should have done.
yeah.
I have
Networking.
Nick from Junk Police. They do a lot of demo stuff. I could have easily called him and gotten his take on it, and he would have been happy to give it to me. I was just trying to be head honcho, and it bit me
Yeah.
in the butt.
You
It
learn.
bit me in the butt.
I want to shout out to Nick from Junk Police in Jersey, man. It's
Yeah.
funny you said that. He's one of my go-to guys too, man. Any questions I got, I always send him a text and all, because I'm very impressed with him. He's young, but
Yeah.
very got his head on right, man, for real.
Yeah. See
He
the guys
doesn't
on.
he doesn't paywall people. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
I
Yeah,
want to
good.
hear from Adam on this. Adam, welcome, brother. How are you today, bro?
Thanks, dude. I'm great. Shout out to Nick as well. I like Nick. I got one of his ads on my phone like a month or so ago accidentally. Like they just reformatted, I guess, their Facebook ads. And I sent him a message. I'm like, I don't think you want to be advertising in Central PA, do you, bro? And he was like, oh my God, they just had redone it. So he was like, thanks. I was like, well, if you get any leads in the meantime, you know
Yeah.
who to send them to. But yeah, so the big jobs. I mean, I've taken so many big jobs on the chin, bro. The one that I will never forget was for this foreclosure, and the company's name was $1 Million Fencing that we were cleaning up this property for. And me and my business partner at the time, who I had bought out in the second year of doing this because I figured out that I didn't want to do it with a business partner. Well, that's another story. But we thought it would take about 4 days. It took us 12 days to do this project. Now,
Dude.
neither of us had to take pay the first almost year that we did the company. So, we essentially just lost our time and our minds. But, man, you really realize how much time things take after you do them, and you have to learn the hard way. I didn't have these groups when I started because I just didn't know to look for them. I think I found most of the junk removal groups in COVID time or after, you know what I mean? And it was you just grind and find. I mean, that's how I learned horsehair plaster. I'm like an interior wizard when it comes to gutting a house, and I only learned because I did it so many times.
How did you figure out the pricing and all?
Well, I mean, essentially guessing, bro. I literally figured it out as I went. There were some interior demo jobs where I took a bath, dude, where it was oh, it's just a bathroom that I'm taking to studs, and it's just the kitchen. So that's just 2 rooms, and that'll go quick. And, I don't know, $800, you do something like that, and
Oof.
then you do it, and you're like, oh my God, what did we do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think demo is definitely a different animal. It's not as straightforward as junk removal. Also, anybody that's watching this, please make sure you do your research on what licensing is required, and if you guys need permits, that is something that will bite you in the butt. It's not like
Yeah,
junk removal. So
I prefer to work demo with GCs that I trust, like local contractors who do good work, who they pull the permits they need, they do the stuff the right way, you know what I mean? And then it makes my job a lot easier, and they know
yep.
what needs done. I would never go into someone's house and they're like, hey, take out this wall, and I just take it out without having someone tell me for sure it's not load bearing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't not. I walked into a house last week or the week before where they had me come in because they wanted the interior gutted. They were going to give the dumpsters because they had some botch company come in and they took half of a load bearing wall down, and now the plaster was cracked the whole way up the living room. And it's I don't even know what it looks like above there, but they had it half braced with 2 2x4s in the one corner. And I'm It's just crazy.
Yep.
What's some equipment that you would want to get for demolition and all?
I do almost everything by hand, dude. I mean, I love the Honey Badger. It's like a 4-prong demo fork. I mean, I love an 8-pound sledge. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all. I love 34-inch crowbars with an L. It got to be 90 degree. Don't give me any of that bullshit curled ones. Bust your face. Anyway, yeah. I mean, that's it. I don't even need a mask half the time unless I'm doing horsehair plaster or something stupid.
Yeah, sawzall, sledgehammer,
Yeah.
pry bars, simple, easy stuff. And then
Yeah.
and then on the big jobs, you're gonna need equipment. But outside of that, it's all pretty straightforward. Make sure electrical's cut off, plumbing's cut off, that kind of stuff before you ever get started.
Russ says demo is an entirely different business. Price by square foot, which includes demo and hauling off. Most are 7 to 10 square foot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. Like sheds, I have a price per square foot. Decks, I have a price per square foot. I've like gotten there more with plaster, but again, it's different in every house because some of them have the metal mesh netting, and I'm telling you, that stuff is like, you want to talk about a bad time. And it happens in some houses a lot. And
Kevin, what's your experience with demo? Have you did any kind of demo with the franchises or anything?
I have, I love doing the outdoor demo, like he was saying, sheds and things like that, decks, whatever. But the interior demo, I know how to do it. I know how to do it well, but I won't do it because there is so much liability. There's so many issues that could happen. When I go to houses and they want me to remove a refrigerator that has a water line to it, I'll tell them I have to call a plumber to do it. I know how to do it. I can do it in 15 seconds. But I've had people that tell me, "Oh yeah, you're gonna just cut it. The water's off and everything else." I cut it and water fucking flooding their basement and stuff like that. I've had people, some of my guys disconnect a washing machine. They say, "Oh yeah, the water's off, no problem." He did it, freaking water pouring everywhere. Tried to do it, the faucet handle broke off. Their freaking apartment is flooding, and it's the next thing you know, we're paying them, $3,000, and it's I can do demo, like I said, it really well. I just demoed my whole fucking bathroom over the weekend, but I'm not going to do it just because of the liability. That's the interior demo. Outdoor demo, I'll do it all day and night. That's it's fun. You get your frustration out and just sledgehammer the shit out of a shed.
Sheds and some saws and some jacuzzis, baby.
Yeah.
Now
So
we're
those are
talking
those are fun to demo. But interior, there's just like JT was saying there, they're between the plumbing and electrical, and and a lot of places, if you're not licensed for that, you can get in trouble on the back end, especially if you fuck something up. It's that liability is just gonna kill you if you're not doing it right.
What's the deal in California, Mr. Yee? Do you know anything with demolition? We need any special licensing for California?
You don't really need any special licenses when they're small jobs and you're not touching gas, electrical. If you're doing, backyard demoing, it's on you, but you want to, make sure nothing's connected to power, like you said, hot tubs. But, a lot of us in junk removal, it's very hard for us to say no sometimes. And, we all want the big jobs. We all want this, but sometimes there's a lot that goes with that. And, so what we do over here is we do light demo. If you want me to take off your kitchen countertops, no problem. You know what I mean? But when you want us to start taking off, like I've been to jobs before where out here in Northern California, we have multi-million-dollar mansions with vineyards and stuff. And they say, we want this whole demo wall. We want that walk-in freezer gone. We want all the marble flooring on the front steps to be gone. We want all this. And I'm just like, yeah, this is not my job, because first, I'm going to be here for too long. Second, you know what I mean? I don't even want the liability for this. And two, it's not even worth it. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be here too long. And, I'd rather just say, hey, you know what? I can reach out to one of my contractors who does this. They have teams, and we can get you a dumpster and rent it out, and you can go with them. And of course, I tell my contractor, I'm going to need 20%. but you know what I mean? And I'd rather just leave it there. And when it comes to redoing my upstairs, my contractor got none but love for me.
See, I hear all you guys saying that, and now I'm interested, man, because none of you want to do it, and I want to be that go-to guy like that, you know, because I think that's where the business. That's why I'm
There is
like, you know, I'm
there
all
is
with
a
the hot
lot of
tub,
money in
man.
it. I mean, if you talk to do you guys know Andrew Barton? He does,
I
you know,
think so.
he does junk removal. He does a lot of contractor work. He does a lot of demo, but he has the machinery for it. You know,
I seen him.
he's a 7-figure guy. He does
Mhm.
a lot, and a lot of it I think is mostly from the demo part. But
Yeah.
he's also licensed to do that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of junk removal companies that do really, really well at demo work is because of their contractor background.
Yeah.
You know, they
Mhm.
have a
There's
background as a contractor, you know, they're not just learning it as they go. But if you have a background in that, you can utilize that in junk removal and you can make some really good money.
yeah,
See, I
there's
want to get
something.
all the equipment like you guys are saying, man. Like I would want to make that like my specialty. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a lot of guys are doing the dumpsters. You know, I think that all these kind of like ties together and can kind of work together in a way. And I think it just separates us a little more than all the other junk removal companies. And that's what I'm more interested about is what can I provide that's going to get a whole new clientele that, you know, I'm not competing with all the other guys with, you know, because it's just a
Right.
race to the bottom otherwise. You know, it's like when I seen JT doing that, I'm like, you know, yes, it was hard at first and everything. You got to learn the pricing and all. But once you got that pricing, I would think there's a lot more meat on the bone and a lot less competition that you got to be like penny pinching. You know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think? Am I right with that or not really?
No, no, you're on the money. You know, the thing is it's just another aspect of it, right? It falls under the junk removal industry. What I was going to say in the pricing, there are demo companies that do not do the haul off. So if you're a company that does the demo and the haul off, that's where that like money meets and where you have potential clients because I was looking around the property and he has things that need to be junk removed as well. So,
Yeah.
like I did the job, did it well. Hopefully he'll call us back for the junk removal. It can be a pain in the butt, but like we were talking about earlier, the bigger jobs require more tools, more labor. We know that. That's nothing different in business. It's just and I've even thought after doing this job, maybe I should just go study and get my general contracting license. So maybe I'm a little bit more prepared, you
Yeah, good
know?
luck. Good luck on that. That takes a lot of money and courses and training and oh
That's
man,
okay.
you gotta go through hula hoops. I've tried to do the same thing myself. I
Yeah.
said, hang on, I could be a GA.
Yeah.
I could do this. I could be a
Yeah.
GC. I could do this. But
Yeah.
after California regulations, how much we have to pay and training, I said, F this. I rather deal with a contractor who does this. And so many contractors don't do demo. That's why
Yeah.
you go to houses and they have all the demo in the garage or
Yeah.
backyard or side of the house after they got their house redone because the contractor's like, I don't even touch the demo. Just have somebody come get it, or you rent the dumpsters, and they don't do that. But
Yeah.
like JT said, it is an avenue where you can get more money. But I suggest that you reach out to a general contractor who's licensed and insured, and he can show you that. So therefore, when you have a client that says, "Hey, can you demo my whole bathroom? I want this going. I want that going. I want this going." Yeah, let me call in my demo team, but he's really a general a contractor. That's all you
Yeah.
have to say. He's licensed and insured. Yeah, no problem. You know what I mean? Have him come out, you know what I'm saying? Meet and greet and everything. And if you get 20% of the job, that's a win.
Yeah.
And you didn't
Absolutely.
and you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then
With
hang on. And
yeah.
also you save money because you showed up with your trailer.
There you go.
And you know what I mean? They threw everything in there and you made money also on that. So smarter, not harder.
Yeah. I think that's a good talking point too. This is something I've been trying to iterate to our guys in the Discord. Um, there's a symbiotic again, there's so much work out there, guys. So if you start getting a bunch of leads, sometimes the answer is not always to buy more equipment and grow. Why don't you find someone that you can trust to sub the work out to? Hey, you keep 60%, I keep 40. They're still taking care of the dump fees, and you're getting paid to just hand them the jobs. So that's anyone in the chat. If you're in that at that point, Jackie and I have had a lot of that this last couple months. We found this young kid who started a company, super cool kid, really good at what he does. Listens to us all the time. So we fed him like $4,000 worth of work this last month, and he's crushing it. You know,
Check
and
check. Go. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say you can do it with demolition too, like
Yeah.
Mr. Yee said.
In the beginning, I used to do a lot of tree removal. I used to do a lot of tree removal with my conservation background. You know what I mean? California Conservation Corps, which I, you know what I mean, got my certificate. And I used to do a lot of tree trimming, tree removal. But one day I met this guy who's like, hey, he was like at the landfill. He's like, hey, I own a tree removal business. I'm licensed and insured. I can help you. You don't even have to do that job anymore. I could do it for you, but you know, you'll get a piece too. And I said,
yeah,
so,
dude, tree trimming suck. That's my least favorite job in
yeah,
junk removal. It's anything with branches, bro.
Now
one
I
day
know why I like you so much, Mr. Yee. You like tree trimming. I like growing trees.
Yeah, yeah. I used to like sampling too. I used to like sampling too, like a DJ.
There you go.
Sampling like a DJ.